Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The chances of Kubrat Pulev facing Dillian Whyte on July 21st, well, they're seemingly hanging in the balance, with the Bulgarian claiming he's been left completely out of the loop on this prospective fight. So before I get to his statements, because he has made a public statement, and before I get to some apparent deja vu-like tactics, context is key with this one. In early April, the IBF had ordered number 2 ranked Pulev and number 4 ranked Whyte to take part in a final eliminator to decide who'll become the mandatory challenger to Anthony Joshua's IBF strap. And as yet, we've actually had no word if Whyte is pursuing this option, or if he's going after Luis Ortiz in the WBC. So he's also been ordered to take part in a final eliminator as well with the WBC against Ortiz. So 2 paths to potentially pursue. He can only take one, but we haven't heard which one yet. But Whyte's promoter Eddie Hearn, he has been saying for a few weeks now that whatever option they go with, Whyte will be fighting on July 21st at the O2. So it has been relatively well established what the Whyte camp is intending to do, what their thinking is. But we've had nothing out of the Pulev camp, which, he's promoted by Sauerland. But now we've got Pulev putting his people on blast through a statement posted on his own website. So he's feigning complete ignorance about what's going on. So the statement reads, "It's getting pretty interesting in the heavyweight division. I read everywhere all kinds of publications, thoughts, analysis of media, managers, promoters and fans of boxing for my upcoming match. Regarding being the official contender of IBF, everything is great and I'm happy that I will be in the ring again very soon. Until a few days ago, nobody had spoken to me about a fight on a particular date. I learned that from the media. My promoters, Kalle and Nissa Sauerland, are amazing people, but we are rarely in contact, and not to mention me confirming a fight with Dillian Whyte. I do want to fight with him, and I think that he is a perfect opponent for me. But around every fight there are a lot of things that need to be agreed on before setting a date. It will be nice if someone wants to represent me when confirming whatever, and talk instead of me to the least contact me first." Okay, it didn't make complete sense, but you get the gist of what he's saying there. But there is a couple of key takeouts from all of that. One, Pulev, he's not very happy that the media seem to know more about his potential next steps than he does. 2, he expects better of his promoters in these negotiations, and he should be apprised of any major developments in them. And 3, I believe he's giving a very clear signal he's not interested in a July 21st fight date, and he wants more time to prepare for Dillian Whyte should that fight be made. So I was mulling all this over after I read all the details, and then I thought, well, hang on a minute.
What did he say?
We've been here before. So what I did was I wound back the clock a bit. I went back to my notes from 2017, and sure enough, when Vladimir Klitschko, when he retired in August of that year, that opened the way for Pulev to fight Anthony Joshua on October 28th. Because the rematch date was penciled in. It was going to be Klitschko, but he retired. So Pulev, he came to the front of the queue, and he pulled the same move. He claimed no one had told him anything, taking a pot shot at his promoter Kalle Sauerland, and also saying that he needed at least 3 to 4 months to prepare to fight Anthony Joshua, that he needed all of that time because of the magnitude of the event, yada yada yada. So fast forward. We actually find ourselves in a state of deja vu. We've already been through this with Pulev in just, 6 or 7 months back, or maybe it's a bit longer now. But Pulev, he's gone to the well once more to publicise his angst at the situation that he finds himself in. And that is effectively, he's out of the loop, an out of the loop spectator in his own career. But potshots aside towards his promoter and a lack of information flow, because, how true that is, we don't really know. But these very public statements, specifically the comment that there are a lot of things that need to be agreed on before setting a date, for me, it boils down to a couple of things. And one of them is Pulev wants more control over the fight details and his preparations, specifically the length of time for his training camp. and he won't be boxed into a date or venue by an opponent's promoter. And also consider this. So Pulev, he's saying he hasn't heard from his promoter, right? So that presumably means that his promoter has nothing to present to him yet at this point in the negotiations. They've got nothing to present to him for his consideration. After all, they can't agree to the fight without him signing a contract. But by the sounds of it, Pulev doesn't like what he's hearing on the grapevine. He doesn't like the fact that it's been penciled in for July 21st at the O2, because that's what's in the public. So these comments, they could also be a very public appeal to Sauerland to actually try harder to get the fight made where he'd prefer it to be, which would be probably Bulgaria or Germany, for example. But Pulev, he's decided to preempt whatever is to come in these negotiations, and he's laid out some expectations that he wants Sauerland to go down by. And that's pretty interesting, right? Because obviously he was feeling that he was going to get pushed into a situation that he didn't want to go, because remember, ultimately, even though he said those 3 to 4 month comments, he was going to fight on October 28th. He didn't get his way in that situation. So he's laying down some groundwork now saying, actually, you know, you guys can't force me into a date. I've actually got to agree to it too. So if Whyte and Pulev do fight, it's not going to be on July 21st. You can bet your bottom dollar if the fight was agreed tomorrow, the fight would be no less than 3 months away. And in fairness to Pulev, I can actually understand his desire to have some more influence over the fight, the details, the preparation, all the things around it, as a lot is on the line. Pulev is 37, and he's arguably at the tail end of his prime. Well, we don't really know where he's at. He may not have another chance to make a run at a title. And as it is, he's 4 years removed from his failed title tilt at Vladimir Klitschko. So potentially this shapes as last chance saloon for a run at a title. But playing devil's advocate here for a moment, Pulev knew in early April that he would be having an upcoming fight. So surely there could have been a move made on his part to start winding up some of his training activity, knowing that he would be entering a full camp sooner rather than later. And even if the fight was announced tomorrow, that's a 2-month lead-in time. And especially when you consider he's already had a month's notice already, is 2 months actually unreasonable? I'll leave that to you to decide what you think. But I would say, through the comments that he's made in the past year, Pulev is certainly giving off a bit of a vibe that he's unwilling to agree to any top-flight fights unless everything is in his favour. I mean, that is understandable to a point, but in the same breath, it's starting to feel a little bit diva-ish. It also brings his mental fortitude into question, and I know people have been questioning it, especially, prior to the Anthony Joshua pullout. Here's another interesting fact about this fight. Wherever it happens, and whenever it happens, Pulev is going to get 75% of the purse. So Eddie Hearn confirmed that in an interview with IFL TV, and he went on to say that they appealed the split to the IBF, and the appeal was rejected. And Pulev is getting that 75% because he's number 2, Whyte is number 4. So that brings me to the next thought as well, though. Despite this lopsided purse, which is, 3-to-1 split, is Pulev the A side in this fight? A couple of years ago, it would have been no question that he was. But right now, we've got Dillian Whyte. He's been the more active of the two fighters in recent years. He's coming off wins against ranked fighters, seemingly has the momentum heading into the fight, and potentially is now the higher profile fighter of the two. In terms of talent, well, it's certainly debatable. A couple of years ago, you would have categorically said Pulev. But as I've said before, do we actually really know what the 37-year-old Pulev's got left in the tank? His last real fight was 2 years ago. He's 37 now. What's he got left? Can he still, behind that jab, take it to Dillian Whyte and have enough to beat him? Interesting question. That's something for another day to cover. A few things to mull over in this video. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.